Today on Crossup, we have Kizzie Kay. Kizzie is a long-time fighting game player with a ton of tournament experience. His dedication and drive to help people in the fighting game community is incredible. We talk about how to have productive fighting game conversations, how he balances content creation and competing, and even how he got started in the scene. All of this and more on the Crossup. Hello everyone, welcome to the Crossup. I'm joined with none other than Kizzie Kay. Kizzie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you for asking. I'm doing great. So, Kizzie, this is Crossup tradition. I always got to ask, the first question is, what does the name Kizzie Kay mean?
It means my name, actually. Kizzie is my last name.
Oh.
And K is just the initial of my first name. So I just put AY just to make it have flavor behind it.
Of course.
So, yeah, so my name means my name.
Good old-fashioned name. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen your content a lot on YouTube and Twitch, and a lot of people are drawn to you because of sort of you just pretty much yourself on camera. Would you say that's true? Do you have like maybe a different persona off cam? Are you a little bit more chill and stuff like that?
So I think that a part of me that I am on stream is definitely a part of me. Obviously, like when I'm walking in person, like I'm not always like joking around like with strangers and stuff like that, right?
Totally.
I mean, I think I do have a fun side, and that's real. But when I'm in person, I mean, I'm very quiet because I'm focused, so I have a lot of things in my mind that I want to do, a lot of things that I have to do in terms of like making sure that I'm consistent. And which is mandatory for my standards, and also just chilling. I just go through my day to day like every regular person. I'm just not as talkative in person because I don't know anybody.
Yeah, I can sense you're about that business too, man. That's well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Now, I understand you've been playing fighting games for a while. I'm gonna ask I guess the most obvious question is, what is your first fighting game experience that you've had?
My older sister actually got me into like fighting games. And it all started from Bomberman,
yes.
And then it went to Street Fighter 2. It was a bad experience because I played Clay Fighters on the Super Nintendo, and that was another one that kind of like got me into like I want to get into these type of games. So start going to the arcades, and I started playing like on Neo Geo cabs. And KOF 96 was my first arcade experience for fighting games. And I haven't went back. It's been like the treasure,
Man, I'm so jealous, dude. I just missed like that arcade era. I'm a little too young, unfortunately, for that stuff. Dude, I can't imagine all the sounds and like the lights and the colors.
The colors I think it was the best part. Like when you walk around a corner, you knew where arcade setup was, a station was, or like a store was. And I think the arcade lifestyle is great. I mean, a lot of people always talk about the bad, but no one really talks about the good. And the good is just like, meeting various like unique individuals and like forming some type of like not a community, but more of just like a hub.
Yeah.
And you see multiple skill sets, and like you see somebody that you see that is interesting, that is like developing, and you get to watch like things like that like grow. I think a lot of people don't really talk about those things. They only talk about like the bad things, which is like the hoodlum. Yeah, but I think from a grand scheme of things, when you don't understand something, everything seems bad.
Absolutely.
So I just think that the people who think it was a bad era just they don't understand. And it's okay to be ignorant to things that you don't understand. Totally. But everybody always labels it as a bad thing, which I think we should fix that. It should never be a bad thing if you don't understand it.
It's okay if you don't know, but you can still have some sort of modicum of respect.
Yeah, I think people should just learn to understand rather than just making the assumption it's bad.
Absolutely.
That's why it's hard to like have talks already, because if you don't understand something, it just goes to just bad.
Yeah, it's the C and FGC, I suppose, right? It's that community and having those discussions that are, it's hard to do, especially on the online era, you know, the FGC, Twitter, all that stuff. It feels like it's almost impossible to have those conversations sometimes.
Well, online is not real.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I feel like majority of the people who talk like that don't even go to tournaments. So, I just call it just the fighting game world.
Okay.
It's like a world map, because people on there just from all over the world, and they just literally never been to an event before, but they play fighting games and they're actually from the world. So I just call it the fighting game world on Twitter.
Yeah. Hey, put them in that box and lock it,
Yeah,
dude. And
yeah,
lock it, dude.
yeah.
Totally. So I guess this segues great into my next question. Do you feel, and this is kind of a broad question, do you feel like the climate of the FGC has changed? We were talking about that arcade era before. So the climate now with this sort of, I guess, online era and talks about rollback and stuff like that, how do you feel that's changed you as a player?
Well, I think it changed a lot. There's a lot of good in the change, which I'm very happy to see. But there's also a lot of bad that comes with the good. Uh, and unfortunately, some of the people that are where they at, in terms of like in the community, uh, are not mature enough to kind of like take care of the bad. So like the bad just kind of get worse as the good gets better too. So as me, I mean, obviously, I changed my priorities too, and it's not in a sense of my priority as like I never really like thought about what I was doing. It's more about like now this is my priority because I'm in this position to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just gotta kind of put some of your goals on the side to focus on one to be able to do another, and that's kind of what I did. So now I can focus on like the bigger picture, that is long term and healthy. So I said, well, I'm going to focus on this now, and it's been great. Can't complain. A lot of things are good. We have more people. Can never go wrong with having more people in the scene.
Of course.
We have not, and when I mean more people, they don't have to be pros. They don't have to be like good players. Just people who are like in the movement, like that's I think that's the cool part. And I think people that could respect the movement and kind of like learn the culture, like because that's how I look at FGC. I look at it as a fighting game culture, right?
Totally.
So I think the culture is like so fun to like watch and kind of learn like how things is. But unfortunately, like because we're so like immature in a lot of ways, it's very hard to kind of like understand what the culture is really about because everybody only sees it from the internet, not from like the actual event.
Absolutely. I feel like if I've only been to like a one or two offline events, and those were locals. I haven't gone to a major yet. Fingers crossed. I can go to one real soon. But like I can tell just this, like there's no way the stuff that people say online they would say, uh, even in a room, even in a room with like two other people. There's no way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there won't. But again, like when you're on the internet, I mean, you're actually like Thanos. Ain't nobody messing with you, bro. You got all the stones.
Yeah.
So like I don't engage with those people because there's no winning because you say a full sentence and they'll take like five things out of it and then they'll just turn it into something that don't exist, and like you have to re-explain yourself. And I'm a person that I don't like to repeat myself. I don't like to I don't have to want to explain myself.
Mhm.
Like if you're like taking me to that point, then see me in a real person, then we can have a conversation because I could tell that like you actually are trying to listen rather than just like picking words that you want to choose to listen to.
Very good distinction between choose to listen and want to listen, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So back in, I guess, sort of the FGC mentality, do you think that the old school "I want to be number one on the leaderboard" is still around?
No,
No.
no. I think it changed a lot. I think people want more glory than anything.
Really? So let's
Yes,
get
I
into
get.
that a bit. actually.
Yeah, I think majority of the people, I wouldn't say everybody, because there's always that 1% that's always going to be different from everybody else. And you could tell who those 1% are very closely if you really understand competition. But the majority of things, I think people just care more about like opportunities and like glory, rather than being number one.
Could you possibly give us maybe some insight into what you meant by when you understand competition in that sort of 1%, the cream of the crop in terms of that?
Yeah, I mean, so like, hate him or love him. Let's look at LeBron James, for example. I mean, he has done more than any regular person in the NBA can do. And he carried himself in a way that some people may not like, but his skills talk. He's one of the greatest basketball players in the world, and I think that he is on the same level as like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and everybody else. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. I think he is also on that level, but because they're in different timelines, people just have like these certain things of like what is really good. But he accomplished that. He accomplished that. So then now the argument is like he ain't better than Michael Jordan, but at the same time he accomplished what Michael Jordan did in a newer meta of basketball. He has done quite a lot, and to me that's what a number one player looks like. Like you don't ever see like LeBron James just like looking for what other people think about him.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own way of like looking at things. And like even when you watch other people talk about how he looks at basketball, they don't really understand how he's like that.
Yeah.
Like he's a professor in the basketball court. That's what the 1% looks like. When you're doing something and it looks like a chessboard to you, that's when that 1% actually really is.
About your craft constantly 24/7.
Yes.
And
it's,
on
it's
paper,
part it's part of your life. It's part of your lifestyle. And like win or lose, like you don't really like, obviously even when you win you get frustrated. That's what that 1% really does. Like you really just have to kind of separate like who that 1% really is. And unfortunately, naturally by design, and when I say by design, it's because it goes by the motivation. And not everybody in this world motivation is at 100%.
Certainly.
And their priorities of what values to be a number one. Also, some people like it quick and easy. Some people like to make their eggs in microwave. Some people like to make their eggs in skillets. So you can tell the difference of like lifestyle of like what's really important to them. And sometimes quick and easy might be the best for them. And not saying it's wrong. Long term may not be the best, but who am I to say that they want to think like that? Sure. But they're not part of the 1%. That 1% is a little different. And I think it drastically changed. And I think people's priorities are not to be number one, but more just about being popular because they see that as an easy way to get noticed. Like, think about it. You don't have to be the best to win anymore. If somebody just if somebody just walked up to you, I'd be like, yo, Luminous, yo, man, you're the best soul player, in my opinion. Really? Yeah. Who am I to say if you're wrong or right? If 5 other people said it, I'm just going to get mobbed out. So, like, does it really matter to argue that? So, like, anybody could just walk up to you and be like, hey, I think you're this. And, like, they don't look at, like, how gameplay works. They don't look at, like, how, like the structure of, like, of just fighting games. They just see a person win. And that's all she wrote. That person win. Obviously, that person has to be the best because they win all the time.
Sure, and this is a really good conversation. I feel as if sometimes winning, especially in a community and in a space, is sometimes being the loudest. You ever feel that that's the way?
No, I think that has been a thing for a long time, and it's like that. Not even in the fighting games. That's the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's like whoever says it first wins.
Certainly.
You know, and like that's just how things are nowadays. And it's not because of like it's not because like it's in the scene. It's just because that's how the internet is now. Everybody has a voice, and these are the consequences when everybody has a voice. It's like we just believe everything, and we don't sit there and just take a step back and think about what's happening. We just see it at the moment. Our attention spans have slowly gotten smaller, so when we see something like that, we instantly just engage into it, and we believe it for that day, or however long we believe it. You know?
Yeah. Do you feel as if there's healthy ways or productive ways to have discussions on the internet then?
Yes,
Specifically about fighting games.
Yes, I think it's possible. I think what it is you can have a very, very healthy, productive conversation, but I think it has to be from people who have known each other in person.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because sometimes you could read a sentence and you may not have the best day in your world, and like it might look worse than what it really is
Sure,
for some people, and I think it's hard for everybody to decrypt things through that context. But I think another thing too is like you can also fix that if you just put your ego down and your pride aside and just actually just like have a general discussion and like just be like, oh, I didn't quite understand you mean like this. Like I think the problem is on the internet you have to be perfect.
Yes.
And like people, if you're like 99%, people are like, oh, I got to bring him down to 99% now, rather than just being like, oh, okay, I understand that, or like can you give me examples? But like that's the thing, is like everybody has to be perfect.
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably experienced in your comment sections, dude, you've fallen off all because you lost like a round or you missed a 2D into RTL, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I get it almost every other day.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just part of people just don't understand things. Like I don't expect everybody to understand what I'm doing, and if some do understand, I congratulate them, because I just know that they really are paying attention, and I appreciate those people. Even people who just watch and they just want to support me, like even if they don't understand, I appreciate them too. And I appreciate the people who think they know everything and like try to tell me what I need to do. I appreciate them too, because I like that means I'm doing a great job. When somebody who don't understand or don't even know me has so much of a narrative about me, I'm like, okay, I'm doing a great job. They're creating a story about me.
I think that's
It's like
an
a fiction
interesting way
book.
to spin it. It's an
It's a
indicator
fiction
of
book.
success.
Yeah,
Yes.
fiction book. Can't. It's gonna happen. It's a fiction book, and like books are good.
Yeah. Reading's good for you, folks. You heard it here first. Do you feel as if you have a role to fulfill in this community, fighting game community?
Yeah, I do.
And what would that be?
I'll give you one example. I think the biggest thing is to show the world that from a bad neighborhood, that you can also do whatever you want to do in life. Obviously, it takes a lot of like dedication and a lot of like change from the average world's perspective of what success is, and just being like a being a like a like an example of that. I think that's super important, not to just the scene, but to the world. Because I don't look at things. I don't look at goals for like the scene. I look at it from like a broader thing, like a broader perspective. Because I feel like if I'm doing it for like the scene, I feel like I'm just setting my bar so low.
Sure.
And the reason why I say that is because, our goal is to try to bring people in. So I think like opening it up to a broader audience and looking at things like that is a little bit more great in the long run. So I think as a scene, yeah, it's just being like that mannequin for the example of like, everybody else across the world, even third world countries and things like that. Like I want to try to set that motivation, because I already believe that all over the world. There's somebody that's going to be looking at you, and they're going to be like, I like this guy, but I want to do better than what he's doing. And that's not even a bad thing to think like that. I think I want people to outclass me, because the younger generation always has an advantage because technology has developed. So I only expect greater things from the younger generation.
Certainly. And it's almost a motivation. Or I know for me in particular, just seeing competition and the way this scene is built, or I guess the world is built, that sometimes competition can drive you to do really good things and
It
push
does.
yourself.
It does. I mean, it brought me here.
The origin of Kizzie Kay, I understand it comes from that fateful night or morning where you beat your sister in Bomberman. This is the most important question. You still play Bomberman?
Yes, randomly. Yeah, I mean, it's like a favorite childhood. It's like impossible not to touch Bomberman sometimes.
Do you have the new one for the Switch? Do you play that maybe on the way to tournaments?
Yeah, I played the Battle Royale one. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that shit is fun, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome. So there's a lot of people in the community, and I always like to ask this question: what is your favorite move in fighting games?
My favorite move in fighting games has to be fireballs.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like fireballs.
Okay. Throwing plasma around. Is there any particular fireball that you like the most?
I like K-Iron Trigger. It's a projectile that forms into mini. And I think that's a great, like, perception of, like, art. So you can go any direction.
I guess the line between player and content creator could be a little blurry sometimes. And I know, the folks at Panda in particular are incredibly great at fighting games, and they make content often. I'm sure all of your teammates make videos almost every other day or every day. How do you balance that lifestyle?
That is a good question. I think one, it takes a small group of people that has your back is one, because you're always going to need like that party of four.
Sure, yeah.
That's going to have your back. It's like a JRPG. Notice that when you like have like a party, it's never like 15, 30. It's like always like 6.
Yeah, it's always
you just need that. You just need that 5, 6. Those people that just always have your interests. They always have your back. They keep you afloat. I think that's the most important thing, how to keep balance, because you need to hear variable perspectives every other day, because it might click to you. I think another thing that's also important too is what you prioritize. So I prioritize my YouTube. My YouTube is my priority, and the reason why it is my priority, because I've noticed that through time that I've actually like helped people a lot, and things that they want to be, things what they like, or like gave them like a place where it's like they feel comfortable, they have fun and things like that. So as an entertainer, like you want to make sure that you keep those people like happy. I guess happy is not a good word that I wanted to use. But the most important thing is comfortable.
Yeah, you feel like you have almost an obligation there, right?
I wouldn't say it's an obligation, no, because it's just who I am.
Sure.
So naturally, like I'm not obligated. I guess I'm obligated to be myself, technically.
I suppose the way you put it, it sounds a little bad, right? It's like, oh, I got work, like.
Yeah. I mean, obviously being like this obviously takes a lot of energy, but sure. I think I mean my whole goal is to try to one of my personal goals is like it kind of like falls into like what I'm doing anyway, and the helping part. So it's not necessarily like a job, but it's more of like a practice of like for the broader things of what I want to bring to like my life and to the world. So it's not a bad thing. I think it's also great that like people also I've seen people who started from nothing and are like super good at things now. and like watching somebody being successful because I was the seed of the tree. It's like the best feeling in the fucking world.
Yeah.
So, me seeing that, like I live for that. So it's not really like a chore. It's more of like it's like I'm just planting seeds into the world.
You want to do this. You want to
Yeah.
uplift the people around you.
Yeah, and obviously it's a lot of work.
Sure.
It's a very lot of work. I don't get a chance to practice how I want, and the reason why is because the priorities of what people in this day and age now has changed. But one thing I will say is I study a lot, so I study a lot of footage. And I just watch a lot of like people play, and I ask questions. Like I'll go to a random person chat and ask questions as if they'd be like, "Oh, bro, like you're one of the best players," and I'm just sitting here like, "Yeah, but I still want to know how you think about things." Like I need to like see, I need to hear, I need to read it. I need to see like what goes through your mind, so I can like understand like why they think like that, and then I'll probably figure something out. But it's hard to balance. But it's great. Panda's amazing. I mean, I could tell them that every other day. Amazing people. And yeah, it takes a lot of work, but I find time to balance everything, and be happy at the same time.
Well said. And you have a group of people that have your back. It seems like, and
I have my special elite 10.
You got your team, on page at all times. Yeah.
It's great.
Cool. That's cool, dude. Very good answer. That's super insightful to hear, actually.
Yeah, I think people forget how important it is to have a balance of like people in your life when you're on the road to success.
In anything you do.
In anything. Yeah, even in school, you should have a group of people. Well, technically you did in school, right? Yeah. May not be in the same class, but you had that group of people that was always around.
Yeah, but you got to actually interact with them. It's not just an obligation to show up in the same space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, you actually mentioned a really good point. You're talking about goals, motivations, all of this stuff. So, I guess this is for the audience in particular. How do you set goals, healthy goals, as a player playing fighting games and wanting to succeed and get better, especially in a tournament setting?
So I think a lot of people look at improvement as results, and that's already a big negative. You want to set goals of things that you practice, things that you study, things that you learn, and win or lose, you should be happy that you accomplished what you did. So like, let's just say, for example, like I'm bad at anti-air. I may have lost a match, but my anti-air percentage was like 78%. That's pretty good.
That's really good.
Pretty good
for certain games. Yeah.
It's pretty good for certain games, and you should really pat yourself on the back. And then even if you try anti-air and it didn't work, you at least said that I was looking for it. Sure. But I was still kind of nervous. I wasn't confident. You have to look at those little W's. You have to look at it because your mind is at least telling you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind is like telling you, like, hey, anti-air. Like when you see it. So like, you got to look at those little pieces and like be like, I accomplished that. Yeah. Or like you were studying somebody and you was like, I need to do this to punish that, and then you do it and you lost. But you should pat yourself in the back. Yo, I did that punish, and like I'm very happy about that. But I think people are just so caught up to like, oh man, it was a close match. I almost beat this guy. Yeah, like I'm getting there. Yeah, and I'm getting there, and I'm just like, you didn't acknowledge everything.
I got you to that point.
Yeah, right? I got you to that point. You didn't critique that, and I think that's how people like those are goals that you should set yourself. You should set yourself to those things always. Like, that should be your main priority.
Right. There's this concept called desirable difficulty, and I call it Goldilocks theory because it's just a lot more palatable than like this complex TED Talk thing. But
Yeah.
it's just breaking things down into segments and difficulties that are desirable. You're gonna anti-air, and it's gonna be hard at first, but it's something that you can achieve. Beating Kizzie Kay in a first to 10 isn't something you're just gonna walk up and do. That's not a desirable difficulty. Completing anti-airs to maybe like a 80 to 90% average on most games, that's a desirable difficulty.
Yeah. And that would naturally make you a better, like, overall better player, because you're telling yourself that my goal is, like, I used to do that actually. So I used to have a hard time anti-air when I was young or younger and like inexperienced. I woke up one day, I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let nobody just jump on me like that for free ever again. That was my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to literally play matches and I used to make them just jump at me.
Yeah.
Like I would literally, like, I'm not throwing a game, but my goal is to kill you for jumping.
Yes.
No
I
matter
did the same
what.
thing too with I'm a Street Fighter player. So
Yeah.
my DP motions. I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna hold down back and I will block for 20 seconds.
Yep.
I'm
Until they
waiting
jump.
for you to jump. Like,
Yeah. Throw me all day.
yeah, exactly.
But the moment you bait, I'm dragging one. And I will set those goals, not because I'm trying to like mock the player, but because I'm trying to improve.
Exactly.
So like Street Fighter, you could keep throwing projectiles all day, they won't die. They have to jump eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like those are the goals you set. You're like, I'm gonna keep doing this until you jump, and then I'm gonna dragon punch you. And like those are the type of things that I use for like practice. And I'll do it in like situations where it costs something too, because I feel like that will only bring the best out of you.
Sure. What exactly do you mean by cost something in particular?
Like tournament, for example.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I'll just do it in tournament. Sometimes.
Okay.
If it's a specific player, it's like I know they like to do this. I'm going to put it all on this to force them to do it, and I'm just going to stick to it. I mean, it's tournament, so like,
yeah,
it's very hard to adapt on the fly because it's only 2 games.
Yes.
And whatnot. But I just set a goal until they show me that they're not going to do it. But chances are they always show me they're going to do it.
Sure. And do you feel like as a set sort of like progressing in a competitive tournament setting that you're almost checking boxes? That you're
Yes.
like, I'm going to start jumping more, and as soon as I get anti-air, that box is checked. He's got that down. So I'm going to start running in now.
Especially when I don't know the player, that's kind of like the checkbox you kind of have to do, because like a lot of people don't understand that tournament setting is designed for anybody to win.
Yeah.
And you have to go with a preset strategy 99% of the time, because you don't know these players. They don't have footage, but they have all the footage on you. So you have to go by these checklists. Some games are hard to go by this checklist because if you get hit once, you lose.
Yes.
So go to you like, okay, don't lose, check. But that's how it's hard, because certain games you die very fast, and that's why you see a lot of upsets sometimes. It's because they wasn't able to go through the checklist fast enough before their life bar got depleted. And I personally think I don't like that. But if that's what the companies want to see, and they feel that's healthy for their fighting game, then I mean, who am I? It's not my game. But it's hard. But I go to the checklist. I think checklist is always important, because you don't know these players. You just don't know. You have to, like, the goal is to figure out. It's like a chessboard. It's like you have to make them use their big pieces fast. Sometimes games, everybody has like 7 queens, because if you make one mistake, they just fucking just woof.
All of a sudden, their game plan completely shifts, and you're playing a completely different character.
Yeah, and I just think people who don't compete and aren't competitors, just they some don't fail to understand, but not all. But it's a hard thing. It's a hard concept.
Yeah, well, hey, that's a little bit of perspective for you guys if you're thinking about entering tournaments or just have absolutely no idea how this works, right?
Mhm.
So I kind of want to move backwards a bit because you said something that really interested me. You said the first to two, first to three stuff isn't necessarily like your forte or something like that.
Oh
Is
yeah,
there
yeah,
an alternative that you have, or because I haven't even thought of this? If there's, is there like a preference there? The amount of
I mean,
games?
I prefer more games.
Okay.
And but it's unfair for like a lot of players because some players are very just good at short sets.
Sure.
But I think 3 out of 5 is a decent balance for both.
I agree.
It's a very decent balance for both, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's I wouldn't say like it's evenly balanced, but it's balanced enough where again, if you know the player, it's balanced. Like you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like if you know the player, it's a bit balanced. If you don't know the player, it's slightly in their favor, slightly, just a little bit. But most of all, it's like if both players know each other and they have experience with each other, it's fair. But that's the thing is like because fighting games are getting bigger, bigger, bigger. To get to that point, to get to that fairness, you have to get like top 16,
Yeah.
top 8. You know, so yeah, so like the the hardest matches is actually getting to there,
Yeah.
and then the matches get a bit more easier for a competitor, and the reason why is because you get to take time and like go through your footage and go through your reviews and stuff like that. Not saying the competition is easier, but the matches,
Yeah.
yeah, you sitting down next to his player, you know what to expect.
And I imagine you're more in the groove, in the flow state at that point because you've been playing so many matches and pools up
Yeah,
to that top 16. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes complete sense. Some great
yeah,
insights, Kizzy. This is super cool to hear,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
from someone that is in these tournament settings. I would consider often, right?
yeah, yeah, very often.
Yeah. Has streaming been a rewarding experience for you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great.
How so?
Uh, I think just meeting a variety of just different type of people that really enjoy the things I do, and then I enjoy their company as well.
Sure.
So it's just like I just have my own little community, and we're just like super down to earth, super fun. And we just do cool shit, and like you know, there are times where I'll be like, man, I don't got anything to do today because I've done all my work, and I just put up the stream. We just do random shit, and we just have fun. So like the reward for me is just like being in a good environment.
Yeah. Putting
Yeah.
yourself in that space around all those people and just enjoying the company. I gotta say that really comes through in your YouTube videos as well, because you oftentimes are always commenting on what the chat is saying and adding on to their questions and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
definitely get that vibe. Do you have any sort of plans for future content or streams?
Yes, I have a lot in mind. I have a lot that I want to do.
Is there anything that you could tell us now, or is that sort of down in the pipeline under lock and key?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I want to start doing is I want to start doing more giveaways.
Sure.
Uh,
Okay.
that's one of the big things. Uh, and I think another thing that I want to do too for the channel is I want to do more like vlogging.
Ooh, yes. I'm excited to see this.
So I think I'm gonna start doing that uh, when this thing that I'm doing slows down a little bit, and yeah, start doing like vlogs and just like being around people that I'll always be around where we just like like kill this whole like all the top players hang out with each other shit.
Ugh.
Yeah, because that's not true.
Yeah.
I have very selective people who I hang out with. So like, if I'm hanging out with this person, chances are they're like similar to me, but like smarter or like similar to me or like wiser or similar to me or just like funny. You know, like we
Yeah, you
have
just
like similar,
vibe with them.
similar interests, but like very special in their own way.
Yeah, I know you guys have that Illuminati group. I'm on to you. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. All three of us.
Yeah. Oh God. What are some sort of like pitfalls or roadblocks you ran into after starting your content creation?
Well, I mean, when I first got into the scene, everybody loved me, and then when I started doing content, everybody started hating me. So I
Really?
had to, yeah.
Let's talk about that. What
I mean,
happened
not.
there?
I mean, again, like when you don't understand something, everybody makes the assumption that it's bad. It's this, is that. You know, we were just talking about when somebody looks at something they don't understand and they instantly resort to it's being bad,
Right.
and not just feel like that's what people did. They just made the assumption that it was bad, and they did, and the reason why is because they just don't understand what I'm doing. Uh, usually, if they be like, usually the average person or the irregular person nowadays will ask you, "Hey, what is your mind when you do these things?" Like they ask you questions, but in these times, we just make a narrative and we just create that, and that's basically what it is.
Right.
So yeah, you know, being the most loved, going to the biggest hate, I think it was the biggest change because I was like, oh damn, I thought all these people was really cool with me, but you know, actually, it just wasn't really about the things that I wanted to do, or they just had an idea of what I was, but they never really met me or knew me. So now that they see who I really am, they was like, oh, we don't like this guy, and that's cool, you know. But it was a good like step to like reality of how things are. I would say that was like the most hardest thing, honestly.
That sounds
Everything
harsh.
else has
Yeah.
been easy.
Yeah.
Everything else is mad easy because I just had to find the flow of like how to be myself.
Sure. Certainly. That's a little hard to do on camera too. I struggle with myself sometimes, especially when I start streaming. I'm just like, am I supposed to be funny? Do I just like do anything or?
Yeah,
And I
I mean,
understand
you
that.
know, like granted, there are like there are things that I just don't talk to in the public, and it's not because like I'm afraid or anything, but I just think it's just too sensitive, and
Yeah.
uh, I think a lot of people don't recognize that the trauma that people went through in life. Like I don't know everybody's trauma in my chat,
Of
so I
course.
don't want to talk about anything that is like very serious or like very like sensitive and things like that because I just don't understand people's trauma. And sometimes people's trauma it triggers and like they go in defense mode, and like sometimes they don't see or understand the words that you say, and they take it to the extreme sometimes. And I don't think it's their fault. I just think that when trauma is just a part of you, it's very hard to like take a step back and like snap out of it. You
Yes.
know, it's like a possession. Like you getting possessed.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't fault people for that. But I learned that just not to talk about that unless people are open to it, and then we can have like a little segment. And then I know how to word myself pretty decently to it, but again, it's still hard. And like I'm my goal is not to like uh, hurt people or like trigger people's trauma.
Never.
So
Never.
so I don't really like talk about that things. But uh, other than that, everything's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very well said, man. I can tell that, just from watching some of the VODs, watching your YouTubes, you have a friendly environment there. If you haven't already, go check out his Twitch. Like, he's got some
thank
good
you,
stuff.
thank you. I mean, granted, when I was young, I was a fucking Goomba, but we learn,
Did you
we
say
learn.
Goomba?
I was a Goomba, bro.
You were a Goomba?
I was over here trying to like body Mario, bro. I was working for Bowser,
You're working for Bowser
yeah,
Incorporated. That is
yeah.
crazy, yo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it took a long time to learn. I mean, I grew up in a bad environment, so like, I had to learn very harshly too, and it was very hard. It's very hard for me because I had to break out of like certain mentalities, But you know, overall, we did it.
Uh,
Now I understand what's right and wrong. Now,
Yeah. I could say
I
you're
did it.
quite well adjusted to whatever that means,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. It's just a funny joke. I did it.
yeah.
Let's go. We made it.
Got the
But
gold star. Good job.
yeah, I got the gold star. I wasn't a Goomba this whole time.
Yeah. Is there any content you think the FGC needs, like absolutely needs, that it doesn't already have right now?
Yes, it's literally one thing. It's so obvious,
Really?
but again, yeah, it's a very obvious thing that we all need, and that's collabs.
Wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree.
that would change us in a great way. But the problem is most people who are quote unquote influencers, content creators, and things like that, if they're already established, they're all just doing it in their own little world. Some don't get along with others. Some don't agree with others' way of content creation. So we have all of these like mismatched things, and like nobody wants to put their pride on the side and talk. And I'm open to anything. I mean, obviously, like we're having a conversation right now. Obviously, I'm just busy as fuck, and like I take time to like respond because I'm like obviously doing like 50 things at once. But hell, I woke up at 7 in the morning and responded to you. Or like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So like obviously I care. But I think the thing is, I think we need more collabs. But for us to do collabs, I think everybody who is very impactful in the scene needs to put their pride aside and stop being little kids.
Certainly. And there's, I guess we got to be a little creative when it comes to these collabs too, right? Because inherently, a collab could be, us two playing Guilty Gear Strive and fighting, but it could also be something completely different. It could be us talking. It could be us, some sort of maybe a fluff piece on like what D&D alignment of fighting game characters would be, stuff like that.
Like for example, you know how like there was a person that was like, "Yo, man, you remember back in the day when like tier list was like based off matchup chart and everybody used to get together and like talk about these things?" But then now people shit on tier list. So how can we get to that point of having a conversation of doing things like that when you just shit on a tier list? Why is there a tier list that is like being so looked down upon, as if like this shit is like killing the climate? Like people look at tier lists as like global warming in the fighting game scene. It's actually like insane. When does having a different opinion was like a big issue? But now when you are not the norm anymore, everybody wants to mob on you because you're the easy target, and they get opportunities for mobbing you too. They might get 1,000 retweets. Who knows? It's like a lottery ticket. So everybody's like betting the farm, mobbing on you.
Yeah.
But I think, for example, as much as people shit on tier lists, I think if we got 5 players that play different characters all in one call and they all did a tier list, I bet you everybody will watch it, even the people that hate it.
Yes, and I've actually seen 1 or 2 videos that were like that. Super entertaining. Because I always view tier lists, I know a lot of people online view tier lists as like these objective truths, like this is exactly super rigid what everything is supposed to be. Obviously that's not the case. If you think that's what that is, please readjust your mindset there, because like tier list has always for me been personal perspective, and when you add everyone else's perspective into a collective list, that is just way more valuable to a community.
But nobody wants to do that. Only some.
Yeah. And I don't know
only
why.
Some. It's because they're in a childish mindset of like they're in a childish mindset, or if you're not in the childish mindset, maybe they just don't care about collabing with certain people. But regardless of what it is, that's what the fighting game needs. I mean, I'm open for everything. So I mean, as you can see, like I'm here. So it's not me.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that wholeheartedly. I honestly, I guess it's upsetting, but I guess be the change that you want to see. So hopefully.
I mean, you just gotta slowly do it.
Yeah.
It takes time. I mean, it takes time to grow a tree, bro.
Yeah.
Unless we in the magic school bus, then then we balling. We get like 40 trees, right?
Or if you have those like magic beans from.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, Kizzy, this was a super awesome conversation. I'm gonna give you the floor now, just to plug all your stuff. If you want to talk about anything else, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Panda. Shout outs to Arcade Shock. Shout outs to my Elite 10 that always have my back. You know who you are. I appreciate you guys so much. thank you guys for all the support, from the YouTube to the Twitch, Twitter. I appreciate all of you guys supporting me. You guys are everything to me. So thank you guys so much. You guys are the best. I keep going harder just because you guys want to see stuff, and I always want to do my best at everything I do. So thank you guys so much. Shout outs to, shout outs to all of the supporters. That's all I really have. Panda, Arcade Shock, Alan, Josh, all of my teammates, Punk, Justin, Hook, KP, everybody in Panda staff, my editors. Shout outs to my editors. Shout outs to the editors out there in Panda. You guys are the code. Shout outs to all of them. Those guys are ridiculous. They are the real creators.
I want to thank Kizzy for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoy this interview. And until next time, take care.